Well, welcome back. I already laid the foundation for our conversation this morning, and our guest is already in the studio to do justice to the recent political developments and matters arising. I did tell you, whilst we're reviewing the papers, the ADC now, they are now wooing Jonathan. And I would even ask, what has happened to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? What has happened to Rotimi Amechi, former minister and governor, who had said he will not back down? Of course, he will vie and look to get the party's ticket, hopefully. That is, if he's able to beat the other contenders. We also know that Peter Obi is also weighing his options as the ADC and the PDP are wooing him to perhaps consider, as Goodluck Jonathan also came out this morning in the papers as reported to say that he had never turned down the possibility of vying for 2027. Join us this morning as I welcome our guest to make sense of this conversation. Recent political developments and matters arising. Dr. Chris Okon is an academic, he's a communications expert, and of course a public affairs analyst. Dr. Chris, good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you, Ike, and good morning to esteemed viewers around the world.
Dr. Chris, let us begin this recent political developments with what the papers reported this morning. As we're hearing that Jonathan is being wooed by the ADC. You know that Jonathan's mention has been with the PDP. Jerry Gana started this conversation about Jonathan considering the option to come back to the PDP and pick up the party's ticket. But for a moment there, let me take you to the Tribune for today. This has cast another development on the person of Goodluck Jonathan. The Tribune for today says ADC woos Jonathan for 2027 race. The ex-president is weighing his party options as the APC are mocking him that he cannot defeat the incumbent President Tinubu. Let's begin the conversation from here. One would have thought it would be PDP only. We are now hearing that the ADC are also looking in the direction of Jonathan as though he's that beautiful bride that everybody wants his hand in marriage.
Okay, let's perhaps lay the foundation. The reason that many people are looking for Jonathan is not because Jonathan is the best person in the world. It's not because it's going to be. It's not because he had made the best presidency in our history. It's just about the fact that he fits into a narrative of the North, which is the fact that Jonathan will constitutionally be bound to a one term. That is why he's a beautiful bride. Okay? Now, let me get back to the foundations. You see, the PDP has been talking tough, saying that it's going to reinvent itself for the election. It's not possible. It's not possible that the PDP can reinvent itself for election as a party alone, because already they are hemorrhaging. Okay, so for the PDP to begin to think that they can stand an election against the incumbent president, Bola Tinubu, is actually, to me, a tall dream. But if the PDP goes into a coalition with the ADC, the Labour Party, the SDP, and other political parties, then that is the only way they can become an opposition against the president. Now, the president is the candidate to beat in this election. And it's not that it is by virtue of the Nigerian democracy where the incumbent has a whole lot of power. Again, the president has also shown and demonstrated some level of understanding of the political climate by the activities he has done so far. So the options are for the coalition. If the coalition proceeds, to bring the former vice president to stand an election against the president, I dare to say that the former president will take some vote from the north, will take some vote from the north central, and will not have vote in the north southwest, will not have vote in the southeast, will not have vote in the south. And President Bola Tinubu will split his vote in the north central and split his vote in the north. And that is definitely going to be an election that might go against him. Now, put again together, even if the coalition come together, which means the PDP, the ADC, and the SDP feels Atiku Abubakar as the president, he may not be able to contest against President
Tinubu.
Tinubu. Now, let's replace Atiku with Jonathan and see the consequences.
Okay.
If you replace Jonathan for a coalition, that means that the PDP, the ADC, and the SDP have come together, and Labour Party have come together to form a coalition against the incumbent president. Jonathan may have even more votes than Atiku Abubakar. Then turn it around again. Replace Jonathan and Peter Obi as a coalition president facing Bola Tinubu. That may be their best bet if they have to go for it. But the truth of the matter is this, that the entire opposition looks very, very unstable. The PDP has a problem. They have a 7th minister in their midst. And the 7th minister in the PDP's midst may not be able to support the PDP presidency. I don't know which seer can see more than what I have seen.
But even if you have a 7th minister, a PDP minister in an APC government, does that mean that he would work against the interests of his party?
I ask you the question. Has he never worked against the interests of his party? The question is that he did. In Rivers State, the former governor of Rivers State worked against the PDP. And he has never been sanctioned or punished because of that. So, does that say something about the future? It shows that it is possible that the minister of the FCT can still work against the PDP in the coming election, because there's a record that he did before and the PDP did nothing. And he has been able to destabilize the party in the zone. Because of him, the governor of Akwa Ibom State left. Because of him, the governor of Delta State left. Because of him, the PDP is shaking in Rivers State itself. So,
Dr. Chris, don't you think the FCT minister has been vilified unjustly? Because, of course, if we look at what he was fighting for, he said an injustice was committed. Senator Abba Moro recently said that the party ceding their ticket to the South is correcting the injustice of 2023. So, this is the same injustice that the FCT minister has been fighting against, right? So if the FCT minister has been vilified as the demon who has, brought about the downfall of his party, don't you think that's an unfair way to look at the man? Because he did talk about the fact that it was a turn of the South, and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar being on that ticket, violates the Asaba Accord agreement.
Well, I do not know what is injustice. But what I know is that injustice cannot fight injustice.
There was an agreement that the ticket was going to go to the South. It was a turn of the South.
The solution would not be to destroy the vessel. And let me say this very clearly. If you are in a journey and you are inside a vessel, the fact that a co-engineer has done something very bad does not mean that you are going to reply him by doing something else to double the effect on the ship. If that ship sinks, you may be
everybody goes down.
You may be so surprised that even that engineer that did the injustice first will survive, and you that is replying him will die. So the idea is that of a human vendetta. So I don't know his religion, but that is the idea. The idea is a human vendetta. I want to also revenge what they did to me. But that revenge has caused one of the most dangerous effects on Nigerian democracy, which means that he has turned the biggest opposition to a vegetable, which is the PDP.
When you say a vegetable, that's like bringing the PDP down to an almost inactive state. Because a vegetable is just there, it can't do anything. It's only good for cooking.
What do you want me to describe it? I'm describing it from the way I have seen it.
Are you invariably saying the PDP is dead? They're trying to reinvent themselves, and they're looking at all the options. Don't forget, they have a Shane Makinde there, who's an incumbent, and he's also looking to aspire as well.
The death I'm talking about, it's not the kind of death that you imagine. Somebody dying. It's in terms of political activity and future. Okay? Now, and the worst is that the PDP has not been able to make the step that it's supposed to have made. What the PDP needs to do is that, being the biggest opposition as we speak, because he has some governors in his fold. They are the one that needed to go out to do the merger. The PDP needed to go out and call the SDP to the table, call the ADC to the table, and call the Labour Party to the table and other parties together, the ZLP and all of them to the table, and said, gentlemen, let's come together. Because the PDP remains the biggest opposition party in Nigeria as we speak. The ADC has not faced an election yet.
Well, they faced one in the by-election.
That is experimental. It's an experiment. They have not yet faced an election. So it's the PDP that should have done that. For the PDP to continue to live in a wall of imagination, feeling that they can still contest as an opposition party against the APC, is an imagination, is a dream. Because they have infection. Okay, so they need to heal and actually now bring a lot of people around them and form a broadband opposition.
Dr. Chris, let us put a few things on the table. The issues that led to the PDP's hemorrhaging, as you described them, I want to believe are the issues of 2023.
No, not only that. The PDP...
They've left it behind.
Now, the PDP has often prepared for this failure unknowingly. Now, I tell you this, and that is why I'm always saying that the APC should not be celebrating. Because the same path the PDP is going, they will soon go into it.
If they are not careful.
If they don't change. And this is what happened. The PDP is the party that did not respect its own rules. And that is dangerous. Because every structure is an organism. And when you defile yourself, it's just like disobeying your own rules. What it means at the end of it is that the fact that many persons are going to be going around you or inside you with injury. So what the PDP did is that they have a lot of persons inside them that are bleeding. You can see the case of the former governor of Rivers State. It's bleeding that has caused that. And this bleeding is not blood. It's frustration, disappointment by people who ordinarily they sat down and agreed on something they wrote on paper, something that is their law. They're not, and the former governor of Rivers State insists to say that he should follow the law. How be it that he has ended up to revenge them in a way that has also affected them. But it is only that the former governor of Rivers State case is only popular because he's saying it. But I can tell you that there are thousands of PDP members who are bleeding inside and waiting for the time for revenge. And that revenge came in many ways and different times. So that's what the PDP is suffering from. So if the APC continues and feels that, PDP used to boast that they're going to rule forever. A very boisterous, proclamation. And that some states even said the PDP is a religion. If the APC follows faith, follows the same way, and begin to grandstand and carry themselves in a way that they are not mindful of the internal injuries of their members. Now, they don't do proper reconciliation. They don't follow their rules. They don't align with internal democracy. The APC will also soon go the way of the PDP.
If your analysis...
And there is nothing that will stop it except the change. Because that is the bane of African democracy. The bane of African democracy is that we don't have internal democracy. And people become leaders in parties, become lords and gods to some extent that they are parading all manners of persons to carry their ticket just because they're in charge.
Okay, now, if your analysis is anything to go by, I mean, if we look at how the Tribune put the headline when Jonathan is mentioned with the right idea, it says the former president is weighing party options. It looks as though the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is not even convinced about the PDP. He's weighing party options. Little wonder it leaves room for the ADC to woo him, perhaps.
The former president is correct. Because elections, the election is not only about the political party. There are so many variables in the political process. And in election and choice, the party is only one variable. There's what is called the candidate, which is the candidate itself. So you carry a very good candidate and put in a very wrong vehicle. The parts of the vehicle are outdated. The driver doesn't have a license. The good candidate inside a good vehicle will not arrive at the destination, which is victory. You also carry a good party and dress up a very wrong candidate and put inside that good party. The wrong candidate, the party will even move. It can even arrive at this point, but the wrong candidate cannot open the door because he doesn't know how to open the door. So these are multi-variables that affect constitutional democracy. So that is what is affecting the psychology of President Jonathan now, because
little wonder he's weighing his options.
yeah, so he's looking at the fact that the PDP, how viable is that ticket? How viable is that vehicle? The ADC, how viable? They have not seen anything yet. But if all of them were to come together and they are to produce one person, let's say Peter Obi as a candidate. Peter is a strong opponent to President Bola Ahmed.
You think Peter Obi commands more political capital than the former President Goodluck Jonathan?
I think Peter does, except for the factor of the North. You know why? You know, let me show you why. If the North agrees that they were going to support Peter, Peter commands a lot more political capital than Jonathan.
You sound as though the election is dependent on the North. Is it not a factor of an issue?
Well, the North appears aggrieved, okay? And, you know, it is just, these grievances is turn by turn. You know, there was a time that the South was aggrieved. Now the North is aggrieved. But weighing it on every side, you know, that is the bane of our underdevelopment. When people become whole offices for their region. So you become a president, and you are a president for the North. You become a president, and you're a president for the South. The question is, for all these years that the North has held power, apart from accumulating of infrastructures in terms of institutions, what else? Which factory have they brought to the North? What is the index of poverty in the North? So does it make sense to go all out to demand that the president must return to the North? What have you done with the presidency in the past?
Over the years.
Over the years, within your region and outside your region, except for bringing institution, every security infrastructure, every university that of the military, every structure that you gather is within their space. That's only what you have achieved. But in doing that, you don't know that you are invariably, you know, encouraging others to survive on their own, like the East. The southeastern states and their people have learned to survive without Nigeria. And that is why they are more industrious. And that's why they are more creative. And that's why they are more innovative. Because of the fact that they have looked the right, the left, and the center, they don't seem to have help. But for people who are living in a handout syndrome, their innovation and creativity will be low. So it makes no sense whatsoever that any region should be going all out for the presidency. What are you going to use it for?
At this point,
however, that does not stop the human desire to have his own kinsman in a place.
if your analysis is anything to go by, you think Nigerians are really concerned about which region the presidency for 2027 goes to, or they just want to see a change in the narrative, especially the way things are playing out?
No, I think that Nigerians are more concerned about who will come and change the status, who can come and be better, make Nigeria better. And do not make the mistake.
But isn't that what the president is doing?
You know, the president has done a lot of job. You know, we may not be able to see what the president has done now, because of the fact of where we are coming from. Don't forget that there was a time we were printing money to pay salaries. You know what that means in economics, which means that we are abusing our ways and means fiscal strategy. And if you take over such a structure, you need to rebuild from the beginning.
Scratch.
Now, the president may have made some mistakes here and there, and he's also a human being. But if you look at the direction he's going, if the president is steady on delivering on those dividends, ensuring that those who are not responsible punished, ensuring that those who are working hard are rewarded, ensuring that, you know, his strategy on education works out. For instance, the president has been able to, you know, revitalize the loans.
The student loans.
That had trained so many people in the past. And that agency was moribund. The president has been able to revitalize it and is using a strategic technology to get it work. Just like the former vice president did in N-Power. It means that you stay in your home, apply. And many students across the country, without knowing anybody, are having
applying and enjoying the benefits.
That is significant. What the president should do now is to ensure that it goes to revitalization of critical sectors and ensuring that it does not politicize those investments. That is the problem. If you are giving loans to agricultural farmers who are holding briefcase, they don't have any farm, then you have not invested in the farms. The farms, there should be a framework to revitalize our land ownership system, which means that our Land Use Act has been outdated for several years. There are so many things the president should be able to do and if he focuses on that, even without campaigning for second term, the president will remain the man to beat. But if he gets distracted and begin to pander into politics, it's just like a wrestling. You are being invited to
come to the ring.
And that invitation is by itself a distraction. So if you allow yourself to be distracted by the person inviting you, the person inviting you wants to distract you, you'll be so surprised at what can happen to that ring because you have left the work that is supposed to have earned you the accolades.
All right. Let us look at something that is also very important. You're talking about the president, and I did lay the foundation for this discussion that the APC in the course of the week said, yes, President Tinubu is enjoying all the endorsements, but that does not mean Uhuru, perhaps any other person interested in the party's ticket can come and vie. Your take on that?
Well, I think that is a statement in principle, okay? And that statement is done to set the record straight so that the APC does not want to leave behind a bad precedent, that people will come and quote it, like saying under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he was given an automatic ticket.
And other persons who had intentions were denied.
Yes, everybody was bad, okay? That is what the PDP, so the APC is just trying to align with the laws and with the constitution of the party and the constitution, which does not allow such level of autocracy in party politics. However, the party itself knows that before this time, in their different zones, they have adopted the president as their preferred candidate. And they have used the right term, okay? So preferred candidature does not mean an automatic candidature. A preferred candidature means is that, well, as human beings, we think this guy is better, but if you feel that you can contest against him, come and contest. Even though that preferred endorsement has a lot of psychological torture on competition.
How?
Because if the structure of the party, who is going to sell the form to you, who is going to sign his signature, who is going to count the vote, is saying that they prefer this person publicly, then what are you coming to contest for?
I do not know what you mean by this analysis. It will seem as though anybody who even tries to contest against the president, now that they've said the party's ticket is open for anybody to come in and vie, it will seem as though anybody who even attempts is wasting his or her time.
No, it's not wasting time. You are definitely going to be able to secure form. That is what the statement is meant to correct. But I'm telling you now, in reality, the zonal structures of the APC in South-South zone, for instance, met. And that includes everybody, superdelegate, first superdelegate, delegates, and everybody. They met together and said they prefer the president to run for a second term. And these are members of the party, ESCO, inclusive, who are going to manage the election. And you now come to say you want to contest against him. You will contest. But you know that already they have already sent this fear into you that as you are coming, we have a preferred candidate. But in any way, come. That's what they have just done. So there's nothing. I am happy that they have put up the statement. I'm happy that I've been able to say that the president does not enjoy a total.
It makes him appear autocratic in a sense.
They have made a statement, notwithstanding his popularity across the party structure. The president is coming from a political dungeon. In quotes, if you see the route he's coming from, he has played opposition for a long time. He has worked under stress. He has seen fire. He has seen brimstone. So this experience has built the president. It's just like David was in the farm for a long time,
Preparing himself.
fighting with all manners of lions,
Wild animals,
tigers.
bears, and all of that.
Then a man came, who was Goliath. David was just looking at him. Goliath himself did not even know what David was thinking in his mind. He said, can you imagine this man? So by the time David just drew that sling, it put him off because of experience. So I liken President Bola Tinubu to that kind of person. So he's able to manage psychology, the people around him, political psychology, his friends, his associates. He knows those who have betrayed him, who are still working with him. He knows those who are supporting him, who are still working with him. He knows those who are looking for appointment, who are still working with him. He knows those that if without the appointment, they will never work with him. He knows, based on his background, he knows them. That's the advantage that President Tinubu has. So that's why you see him, when he goes onslaught against a particular place to get, he will get it by all means. But however, what is on the table is not that the president can make the next presidency by all means. He will only make that presidency if the opposition do not, organize themselves properly. It's the candidates. And neither the PDP, nor the ADC, nor the SDP can independently face the president. Let me make this point clear, and abundantly very clear again. And you can take it to the bank. Neither the PDP, nor the SDP, nor the ADC can independently, underline the word, independently. Neither of them can face President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But if they all come together and present a candidate, then President Tinubu has an issue to grind.
Thank you for that one, though. Let us talk about the issue of the PDP zoning their party's ticket to the south. It's not exactly coming down well with everybody. We've heard of some northern concerns who are opposed to this decision of the PDP deciding that their ticket will go to the south. But Dele Momodu said, I'd like to quote Dele Momodu so nobody thinks I'm the one saying it. Now, while reacting to the decision of the PDP to zone their ticket to the south, Dele Momodu said, and I quote, it's Wike's hand and Tinubu's voice in the decision for the PDP to zone their ticket to the south. Look at that statement. You think there's something clandestine about the PDP's intention to have zoned their ticket to the south?
Well, my opinion on that.
Don't you think it was supposed to correct an anomaly of 2023?
I don't think that Wike would have gone all out to zone the ticket of the PDP to the south. It's no longer necessary for him again. That is what he wanted ab initio. But I do not believe in what Dele Momodu said. I don't think that it is Wike that did it, because Wike seems to be disinterested. It's no longer important whether the PDP zones it to the south now or not, because it will not make any strong influence. Okay? So I do not think Dele Momodu is right. I'm not a spirit, but I believe that statement may be technically faulty. Because
why?
What is Wike going to benefit from zoning the ticket to the south for? Is he going to become a presidential candidate? So what is his interest in producing the president from the south in the PDP when he knows what he's going to do?
Are you saying there's something political about a statement from Dele Momodu that Wike's hand?
No, I think that Dele may have come to that conclusion from the many reactions of Wike over the years. Wike is always in a hurry to refer back to that election, that ticket was originally meant for the south. And if the PDP wanted to win an election, as at that time, that they needed to zone that ticket to the south. So Wike has said that several times. And because of that, I think Momodu is beginning to think that that is what is still influencing. So even if the leadership of the party did it, I don't think that Wike may have really influenced it to come to the south.
Okay, but let us look at it. Zoning their party ticket to the south, don't you think that provides a clear path, perhaps to correct, as I did say before, the anomaly of 2023 or the mistake, injustice of 2023? Late. It creates a path.
It's late.
It does create a path.
It creates the path, but it's late. Let me show you how. Who are they going to bring as the presidential candidate of the PDP in the South?
You're
So
knocking out you're knocking out possibilities,
I
Dr.
am
Chris.
okay. So I'm going to give you possibilities. One person is Shea, fantastic governor. But will Shea be able to contest against President Bola Tinubu in the Southwest?
You think he cannot?
He can, but he cannot contest strongly. This is a statement of facts. Bring another person.
Well, aside Shay, you have the possibility of a Goodluck Jonathan. You have a Peter Obi. These are people from the South as well.
Even if Peter is to fly the ticket of the PDP independently, he will not be able to contest against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have told you about the problems of the PDP as a vehicle.
Is the PDP so weakened that it cannot stand an election on its own?
I cannot use the word weakened, but troubled. You know, I choose my term properly. Let me not use the word weakened, but troubled. And you know, a troubled person is somehow a confused person. The PDP has not been able to soothe the injuries that are inside it.
But it's doing that now.
It's making efforts. But look at the time between the healing process and the election. When you have a boisterous incumbent that is going on an assault. That's the problem.
It's indeed a problem, as you put it there.
What the PDP needs to do is to first accept that it has trouble. And that proceed. I've heard some people think, some of the PDP leaders have been boasting in national television that they are going to contest an election. It's not possible. Without them going all out. Because leadership is about humility. The PDP leaders need to go all out to fraternize with the ADC and SDP and Labour and call everybody together and say, gentlemen, there is something wrong with the APC's leadership. And they need to point that out to Nigerians.
And provide an alternative.
And they have to provide a solution to the problems. And they have to say why they could not do it when they were in power. So that is where they have found themselves. And it is possible. It is easier for all the coalitions, opposition parties to come together to contest against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and become a force than for one person or for one party to, even if the PDP brings, I don't know who they will bring. So the issue therefore is that, I still repeat, that the coalition needs to be expanded.
But this coalition that the ADC is presenting seems to be, should I say, a potpourri of different political interests, because we've seen some persons from the PDP join the ADC. We've seen some persons from the SDP join the APC. We've seen some people from the APC join the ADC. So the ADC's coalition carries that recommendation that you're talking about.
It does not carry, because the PDP is still saying that they are independent. The leadership of the PDP has not accepted what they are saying. And that is the point. And that is where the error is. If the ADC were to like represent both the PDP, the ADC, the SDP, and the Labour Party, that would make a whole lot of sense. But if Labour wakes up tomorrow and say they are not part of what ADC is doing, and SDP wakes up to say they're not part of what the ADC is doing, it makes them very disorganized. What we need to see is to see the chairman of the PDP in the table, and see the chairman of the ADC in the table, and see the chairman of the Labour
SDP,
Party,
Labour Party,
all of them, ZLP, all of them in one table, discussing and agreeing that in this table, we are going to produce one presidential candidate. If they do that, then President Tinubu is in trouble.
Let me say something that may appear a bit of a problem. We recall that in the last elections of the APC's primaries, while some other persons stepped down and, of course, made way for the incumbent to emerge as the party's flag bearer, Rotimi Amechi never did. Again, in the course of the week, he has come out to say that if anybody's thinking that he's going to step down for anybody whilst fighting for the ADC's ticket, he is not stepping down for Amechi. Does Amechi have the credential, perhaps, as an individual? Does he command that political capital, as I said before, that may give him an advantage going into primaries, perhaps securing the ticket and facing the incumbent?
Well, former governor of Rivers State has political capital in Rivers State.
In Rivers State.
In Rivers State. He has some political capital around the south.
Does he have the national spread?
He may not. Except is a consensus. You know, the power of consensus is that even when you don't have power, the other faction will bring power from and join with your own. That's the power of, and again, that's what the APC did in their merger. You know, I thought the PDP is going to learn from what the APC did. The APC, you know, enjoyed the division in the PDP. And they called themselves the new PDP.
The NPDP.
Yes. So,
which had the former minister.
Former minister and former Senate president.
Yeah.
And former governor of Kwara State. And they had also the party that was headed by President Buhari that time.
The CPC.
The CPC. And they brought their own party, the ANPP. They now came together and surrendered their different factions.
And blocks.
And now meshed into one, which now became the amalgam called the APC. Under President Muhammad Buhari, the APC component were very strategic in the way they operated. I mean, the ANPP component and the former AD's component of the APC, even when the fact that they knew that they were suffering oppression, they did not cause trouble. They waited until their idol became the president. So, the opposition will need to do the same or something close to what the APC did.
But Amechi is saying he is not going to step down. If anyone thinks he's going to step down, that's why I asked if the contest is thrown open and then you have the likes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, perhaps a Peter Obi who decides to eventually at some point, if he wants to, join the ADC. You think Amechi stands a chance, or better still, let him just step down now and support somebody? Because he's saying he's not stepping down for anybody.
No, I think he's entitled to his opinion. And it might be also very childish to begin to step down in an election that you have not even started.
But you can actually foresee a defeat and beat a retreat ahead of the fight.
I don't agree with you, Ide. The election has not started; it's just in the process. If Amechi proceeds and begins to see the dynamics of how the ticket will go, he can now choose to withdraw. But to ask him to withdraw now is too early. So he's entitled to that decision not to announce a withdrawal when the battle has not even, the whistle has not even been blown yet.
So you would not ask the former minister to step down if push comes to shove?
If it depends on him. If his party wants to have a consensus and he does not agree with it, then he can walk out of the election. That means that does not mean that he has stepped down. It's a different thing entirely, and he has done that before. So he can actually walk out of an election without stepping down, but without also obstructing the consensus.
I see.
But the issue is, what will the ADC do now? They have become a political party. How can they bring the PDP to the table? The next question is, what will the PDP do now? Can they proceed to ADC and invite them to the table? Those are the options that are open for them. And the earlier they do this, the better for them, because the APC is looking at them and are looking for every flank of weakness to exploit and ensure that they defeat the opposition again in the next election.
As we talk about recent political developments, we mentioned the former president. He's made some statements. One that he made on Wednesday has caught attention. I'd like for you to speak to it. Former President Goodluck Jonathan quoted one of the newspapers that published this particular reporter on Wednesday. This day precisely, the former President Goodluck Jonathan said Nigeria needs an independent office of the registrar of political parties to tackle what he tagged growing crisis of political indiscipline. Jonathan made the recommendation at a public presentation of the National Action Plan for Electoral Reforms, which was organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thoughts. That was on Wednesday. I'm reading from this day that captured this particular story, and I'd like for you to speak to me. Jonathan said, while Nigeria had made notable progress since its return to democratic rule in 1999, the country's electoral system still faces significant challenges. He went on to say that if Nigeria truly is committed to democracy, the citizens must be bold enough to reform the process to reflect the will of the people and the principles of justice, accountability, and inclusion. Where am I going with this conversation? You probably ask. The office of a registrar for political parties to tackle indiscipline in political parties. Do we need that? Or is just another talk?
I think that I've already spoken to it before. I've told you that
The registrar,
yes, that's
to tackle indiscipline.
That's what the PDP suffered, and many of the political parties have suffered same. When they don't respect their rules, they don't follow their own internal regulations and guidelines. But beyond that, President Goodluck Jonathan also had an opportunity to have been able to reform that. He did not. He did not. That is why it's not always good to waste opportunity. If President Goodluck Jonathan was able to give us a viral electoral process, even if he did not secure a second term, he would have been a higher hero. The challenge we have is that we have an electoral system that is still having deficiency. When you have invested over 200 billion naira in electronic or a technology that cannot increase reliability, cannot increase the verifying capacity of the structure, that is the problem. So I think that what we need more now is what is the process of the appointment of electoral commissioners? Who should have the power to appoint the chairman of INEC? Can we not develop a process where the chairman of, just like the Chief Justice of the country emerges, can we develop a process where the chairmanship of INEC can emerge independently on its own through the rank?
But let me quote him. Of course, Jonathan was
without
represented.
necessarily the influence of the incumbent political party.
Okay, let me quote him.
Because when the PDP were in charge,
yes,
they used their powers to appoint chairman of INEC. And so when the APC came,
they copied the same thing.
So nobody can actually...
So no difference in what was and what is.
So that is why President Jonathan may not be very qualified morally to speak to it.
But let us speak to the issue itself. He said, and I quote, perhaps you understand where I'm going with this. We've seen a disturbing rise in the practice of cross-capiting. That's defections now. People defecting from one political party to another without ideological justification or accountability to the electorate. He went on to say, as a remedy, there needs to be an establishment of an independent office of a registrar of political parties charged. Here's where I'm going. Charged with the responsibility of regulating political parties' operation, promoting internal democracy, and enforcing party discipline. Look at the recommendation.
It will be a duplication of function. It is something...
Do we have it existing already?
Look at it now. The electoral laws and guidelines provides what will make you to defect from one party to the other.
Yeah, but people are doing anti-party now without necessarily defecting. Now, that's an indiscipline in itself.
But let me tell you what people do. And it's something that is very innate with Nigerians. We like abusing and turning the laws upside down. Now, when you are planning to leave this party by next year, you use 1 year to create a division.
I see.
You use 1 year to cause conflict in your party, preparing for a justification to live in the next year. You know why? Because of our value system. We don't respect our rules. And number two, when the incumbent is in advantage and they are in charge of the legislature, who will announce the seat vacant when the benefit is coming to the incumbent party?
Yeah, but of course, there has to be some Caesar, if I may call that word. There's some Caesar who will whip everyone to line. There's so much indiscipline in political parties right now, and it does look like nobody's calling anybody to order.
I agree with you, and I sympathize with the situation. But the challenge is that we have gotten laws that we have not kept. It does not mean that the law permits that. But it's just that the law provides a lacuna for justification. And people are just latching on that lacuna. So wherever, for instance, let's get to the PDP, where it is clear that some people are indisciplined. The party clearly does not have the
internal mechanism to punish offenders.
Yes. Moreover, now that they are even in the opposition, they even lack more powers, they lack finances, so they are depending on the mercies of certain people to survive. So that is why great scholars and leaders around the world have always called on Nigerians to not build strong people, but build strong institutions. As we speak, we don't have strong institutions. If we had, there's no reason why Minister Wike should be in PDP. He has no reason whatsoever to continue to remain a member of the PDP from every evidence. But you can see that he is the chief breaker and he's the chief survivor. So if somebody like that is enjoying the affluence of the indiscipline and party irresponsibility, who is going to call who to order?
So even the suggestion by the former president is not something that can work.
Because somehow they will allow a lacuna. That is our problem.
And the lacuna in that law will always be exploited.
Yes, as we are talking now, we are supposed to be working on sealing the loopholes of the Electoral Act that allow the uselessness of the beavers.
Well, Dr. Chris, let's conclude this conversation. Your part in short, we've talked about the different individuals and the different political developments that we've seen recently. How would you sum this up as the days go by? Because, of course, we'll be hearing more of these names.
Well, my thinking is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu remained the candidate to beat. The opposition have a choice. The choice is for them to come together. If they come together, they can overturn the tide. But if they are not united, they will not be able. Nigerians are looking forward to an individual who is able to speak to the problem. And if Bola Ahmed Tinubu is able to reduce the cost of fuel gradually as it's going, let's say, for instance, that by 2026, fuel goes down to at least, let's say, 500, 400.
Okay.
That is a lot of campaign.
Yes.
Let's say, for instance, that by that time, the ASUS problem is settled once and for all.
Okay. And
more money is injected into education.
Yes.
That is a technical campaign. Let's say, for instance, that we have farmers in the villages that come forward with evidence that they have received money and they have improved their farming condition. For me, that is a better campaign strategy than to begin to reply to the opposition. For the opposition, their responsibility is to come together and point out to the faults of the APC-led government and show what they can do better and timelines that they will use to achieve that. To that extent, we can have a very boisterous election, which is what democracy is all about. President Tinubu should not be allowed to run for an election on an 80-20 capacity. The election should be at least 50-50.
Neck and neck.
And let's see who wins at the end. That will make us to be a better country, a better democratic country, and there will be more respect for electorate going forward.
Dr. Chris Okon, little wonder he's a communications expert, doesn't lack the words to say. Thank you again, Dr. Chris.
Thank you, Ike.
And it's been a pleasure talking to Dr. Chris on the recent political developments. We'll keep our eyes on watching the recent political developments. But of course, before we go to sports there, quick information from our correspondent just letting us know about the River State situation there, about the local government election. As at correspondent left this information around 10:15. She says units materials have not left Lekahia. Other units are still setting up for the points. Remember, we talked about the issue of late arrival of electoral materials. Our correspondent is fielding information to us now that in a lot of these places, election materials are yet to arrive. And of course, you have voters ready to vote, but materials and even personnel are yet to arrive. As we progress, of course, we'll keep our eyes on developments there in River State and we'll bring them to you. And of course, in our bulletin, we'll have perhaps a much more robust package. Of course, you can see the Speaker of the River State Assembly. Of course, let's take a listen before we bring sports in. Perhaps small clips of what's really going on, because it looks like voting has started in this particular local government area. Let's take a listen to some of the clips that we already have in. Thank you, sir. Solid.
One is not far from me. So this second, they were here a few minutes past. And people have been voting over us. We're impressed. I'm happy with our people who vote us. Massive turnout. Happy with the electoral body over states. We're impressed.
Well, that's a bit of a development there. Of course, you've seen the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly there, of course, casting his vote. And you can see the process is already ongoing here in this particular local government area. However, reports reaching us is that some local government areas election voting is yet to begin. We'll keep our eyes on the ground. And of course, as soon as we have any latest development, we'll let you have it. Of course, you're still watching the weekend edition of the Morning Express. When the sports guys come in, we'll talk what's happening in the world of sports. Please stay tuned.